You always have personal problems. You always have an excuse. You're always struggling. Why would they want to refer you? Oh, because they're family. Welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. I'm your host, Araujo. I want to thank you for joining me today. And today's topic is setting the tone, right? Setting the tone. And part of my Mindset Mastery is to set the tone of what I have to do, right? As one of the owners of AZ & Associates and co-founder of Do the Work, it's something that I have to establish, right? And I think all of us have a responsibility because we are true leaders in our own regard, right? We are all leaders in our own regard, leading our families, leading ourselves, leading our businesses. And I think we sometimes forget that it is our responsibility, it's our duty to set the tone right from the beginning. And this topic came into my mind when I went to the gym this morning. You know, setting the tone of waking up at 4:30 in the morning is something that I just said I do, right? Because the last thing I want to speak on is saying that everyone else should do it when I'm not doing it myself. And that's one of the responsibilities we have as leaders is having that, being in integrity with doing what you say. I remember one time my boss told me many, many years ago, yes, I had a boss 18 years ago, and he says, do what I say, not what I do. And you can pretty much, figure out how much respect I had for this man, just because he was often telling me what he expected from me, right? But yet failed to do it himself. Not to say that I was a bad employee by any means. I got promoted numerous times throughout my career, but it was just, the leadership, the lack of leadership really sets the tone for the entire department. And, so there was very little respect because he would establish certain guidelines, but yet he wouldn't do them himself. And that's one of the things that we have to understand, that even at home, for yourself or your business, if you fail to set the tone from the very beginning, don't be surprised if things don't always work out your way. It's just one of those things that you got to understand, that setting the tone is your primary responsibility. And it begins with you. But again, I was reminded of this whole subject this morning because, Mondays is a very unique day. Mondays usually set the tone for many people that are excited to get on some type of routine, right? This is where challenges start. This is where new behaviors begin, right? I'll start Monday. We always hear that. I'm going to begin on Monday. I'm going to get healthy, so I'm going to begin on Monday. It's never like a Wednesday or Thursday thing. Monday usually sets the tone. This is the same thing for, marketing or business. If you're going to change something in your business, it usually happens that Monday because you have the whole weekend to think about it. You start preparing, you get excited about it, and then you begin on Monday. But another thing happens on Mondays. I think this is where a lot of routines and habits are broken. So habits are made and habits are broken on Monday. Especially for those that have been doing it for a certain period of time, Mondays is tough, tough. And I see this within the gym, right? I see that normal people in the gym, even people within my own group that I work out with. Mondays are a heavy absentee day for whatever reason, right? It's no different from many weeks and days prior to, but somewhere along the lines, we allowed ourselves to break a routine. And when we're trying to set the tone, it's like it's got to be established and it's got to be done regardless. It's got to be the number one priority. But setting the tone really is about establishing a particular mood, character, or standard. I've set a certain tone for myself that when I commit to something, I am going to get it done. And when you start looking at how your business is, how your relationships at home are, how your finances are, maybe somewhere along the lines, there wasn't a clearly defined tone that you set for yourself. And I think that's where we need to begin with everything, right? Is clearly defining what the expectations are. And today, as I finish my workout, my routines are very, very, very habit-based, right? People can usually tell what I'm going to do around what time, okay? So after I go to the gym, I go straight to Starbucks. If I ever came on somebody else's hit list, they would figure it out very, very clearly because my routines are down to the T, okay? So it's straight from the gym, right to Starbucks to get my iced coffees. No sugar, black, straight to the point, right? I'm setting the tone that, hey, this is where I need to start the recuperating process, make sure my energy continues throughout the day. Now, I'm not saying coffee is a health benefit, but what I'm saying is it helps me be clear about the objectives at hand. If I don't have this thing, after breaking down my body, if I don't have this thing that continues to move me forward, I'm more likely to go home and take a nap. And then when I take a nap, I'm a little lethargic and, I'm not doing the things that I want to do. So I go straight to Starbucks. Well, the beautiful thing about Starbucks is that you can order ahead, okay? And you're able to see a lot of drinks. As soon as you walk through the doors, you're able to see all these drinks waiting for people to pick them up. I kid you not. Today, I saw 10 Frappuccinos on the counter. 10 Frappuccinos on the counter, and then my black coffee, right? And I'm looking at these drinks, all right, full of sugar, full of milk, full of whipped cream, full of caramel, full of all sorts of sweeteners and fats, right? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if our job is to set the tone, and this tone is going to dictate the success of our day, what is going to happen with that type of decision? It's not like you start making better decisions throughout the day after choosing to have a dessert first thing in the morning, because that's exactly what it is. It's not really coffee. It's full of sugars, full of fats, full of carbs, full of all those things that you're going to crash. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, what kind of tone are they setting for the rest of the day? It's not like after they leave Starbucks, all of a sudden they're going to go eat a salad or go eat something healthy, maybe a little rice and chicken. No, it tends to progress because they failed to set the tone right from the beginning. They thought it was okay to go ahead and consume the sugars and all the stuff that goes into these drinks. What makes it, what are the odds of them saying, no, this burger is not okay. This fast food is not okay. It doesn't. You set the tone right from the beginning, right? So you're telling yourself that it is okay to treat my body like this first thing in the morning, which makes it okay to do it throughout the day, every day for weeks, months, and then years, to a point where things are not working your way. Now, it is a responsibility as business owners that we showcase a certain tone, and self-care is one of them. You taking care of yourself demonstrates to your clients that you're setting a tone for expectations. People can tell how good you take care of yourself by your eyes, by your skin, by your body. Now, I'm not saying we should all walk around with six-pack abs. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is we have to set the tone that we have to be the best version of ourselves at all times. And when we do that, we start inviting that level of success from others. But it starts with you. And setting the tone is it's something that you do, not necessarily say. And in today's social media, I always see this. It's like, okay, everyone is this guru. Everyone is the authority. But you can tell. If you really just close your eyes, right? Or open your eyes and maybe plug your ears, you can really see if somebody is telling the truth. You start paying attention to their mannerisms, to their eyes. Their eyes will tell you the truth. Their face, their gestures will tell you the truth. But oftentimes, we just want to be able to hear something good and believe whatever story they're feeding us. But here, we're very clear about what we stand for, right? Carla and I are very clear of what we stand for. We know that, hey, it is a responsibility to be good at all things. So the expectation is, listen, you have to improve in all things. And guess what? Some people are put off by that because we are so very clear. It is distinct of what we stand for. So if your business is kind of ups and downs, start looking at whatever tone you're setting. Maybe you're shooting yourself in the foot because your inconsistencies with marketing is the same inconsistencies you have with getting clients or not. It's the same inconsistencies with your finances. You see, we attract who we are. So if you're consistent every day, it'll be more consistent with your finances. Your business will never suffer from inconsistencies. But if we show up sometimes and then we don't, that's the type of clientele base we'll sometimes get. If you can't clearly establish your own standards, your clients, you can't expect your clients to set their own standards. That's why you're going to look at 50 houses, every time you're out with this client before they actually go into contract, because they're indecisive. It's not that your client's indecisive. You may be the one that's indecisive. You're the one that may be uncommitted. So as we start looking at all these different things around us, it's like we will attract who we are. And if we don't clearly set the tone, then we can't expect anything different than what we're providing, than what we're giving. Setting the tone is an example or is a process that we have to go through every aspect of our lives. My daughter wanted to go out to, they hang out at this Dutch Bros. It's like a teen thing. I don't know if there's a Dutch Bros near you. It is full of teens anywhere between 7 and 10 p.m. Okay, full of teens. They're hanging out. It's like, it's like the club of teenagers, right? I'm talking about preteens, like 15, 16, 17, 18, right? They're just hanging out there. My daughter asked for permission to go. She was going to go with a couple friends, guy friends, guys I've never met before. I could easily said, yeah, babe, just be home by 9 o'clock. But I wanted to make sure I set the tone and establish what my expectations are. I don't know these individuals, never met them. My daughter says they're good people, and I trust her judgment. She knows how to pinpoint good people or not. And it's not necessarily that I don't trust her judgment. I don't know the guys, right? So I needed to set the tone and establish what my expectations are. So I told my daughter, yes, you can go. But I want those kids to come over to my house because I want to meet them. Why? Well, I wanted to let them know I wanted to know who they were. And like I told them, when they first pulled up, they get out of their cars, they shake my hands, good. And I think my daughter pre-warned them, right, about shaking hands and being firm with their grip. I shook every one of those little kids' hands, 16-year-olds. I looked them straight in the eye, and I said, hey, my name's AZ. Happy to meet you. But I wanted to know who you are, but more importantly, I wanted you to know who I am. That's the tone that I wanted us to set. And I also said, hey, Abigail says you guys are good friends. Then I asked about their school. But it was very monotone when I established that tone. And sometimes we have to take that approach. Actually, 100% of the time, we have to take that tone with our clients. We have to be confident. We have to be firm. We have to set the tone. We can't approach this in a lackadaisical, way. It is serious business. Your business relies on the success of how you set the tone. Do they see you as the authority? Or are they doing you a favor? And there's a big difference there. You should always set the tone regardless of whoever you're working with. Family, friends, or complete strangers. Setting the tone is so important so that there's no confusion or blame at the very end. So I talked to these kids. And I said, I wanted to know who you were, but more importantly, I wanted you to know who I am. You obviously know that my daughter is very important to me. So here's what I need you to understand. If she's going with you guys to Dutch Bros, I expect her here at 9 o'clock. They said, oh, yeah, Mr. Araujo, no problem. We're going to hang out 9 o'clock. So I let them know what my expectations were from the very beginning. I said, nice to meet you. Asked about their school. They went on their way, right? Abigail tells me later, she says, Dad, at 8:50, they were telling me that I need to go home. I forgot one little detail, a very important detail. I also said, do not leave her anywhere. I don't care what other friends are around. Even though my daughter has her own car, I said, do not go until she goes. Meaning, hey, you're responsible for my daughter. I don't want the story of, oh, we were together, but then we left. She's 16 years old. Right? I don't want that story. I said, don't leave her or don't leave unless she leaves. Okay? If you want to leave before, she has to go too. Not to say that they tell her what to. What I'm saying is there's a responsibility. Okay? There is a responsibility in going anywhere with my daughter. I'm not overbearing. She has a lot of freedoms. But at the end of the day, my number one priority, and I set the tone to the core, is her safety. So, glad to meet you. If you leave, she leaves. If she leaves, then you're good. You know, she's not going to go with anyone else. Okay? I don't want the story of, oh, yeah, we were hanging out, but then I left and I don't know what happened. What? No, I'm setting the tone. I've watched maybe one too many, documentaries. I don't know. But I think that's a good rule to exercise, to set the tone. So Abigail tells me that, as soon as 8:50 rolled around, they were telling her, hey, you got to go. Now, imagine if I would have never met those kids. And this is why I'm bringing all this together. Imagine if I would have never met these kids. You know what they would have told Abigail? Hey, you can stay for another 30 minutes. They would have influenced her in a negative way that would contradict what I wanted for her, correct? Absolutely. But because I set the tone with everyone in the party, everyone knew what the expectations were. So I'm not going to leave it to them to be responsible teenagers. It is my job as a father, as an adult, that they understand what is expected anytime they come into my realm. So, as opposed to them influence her to stay till 9:30, 10 o'clock, they were like, Abigail, you got to get going. And those are the type of responsibilities we have. So understand, as you're looking at your relationships, as you're looking at your health, as you're looking at your finances, you got to understand that maybe you haven't set the clear tone of what you should expect. I expect to be in tip-top shape. I expect to be abundant in finances. I expect to have a loving and a great relationship at home with my wife and my kids. Those are my expectations. I set the tone. So I direct my mind to do the things that will support that tone throughout the day. So if you start on Monday and you allow it to be an option, to make a decision like getting a Frappuccino, to saying, well, I'm going to go ahead and sleep in, when there is no reason for you to sleep in on a Monday, you can't ask why your business is not working the way you want it to work. You can't question why your marriage has lost its luster. You can't. You can't start looking in the mirror and say, how did I get here? Well, you left it an option. You didn't set the tone clearly. You are a leader. We're all leaders. It is our responsibility to make sure that we set the tone and we live by example. We live by example. Now, I wasn't trying to be intimidating to these kids. Another comment that they said is like, wow, Abigail, we didn't realize your dad was that big. I mean, these are teenagers. They're like 5 foot, I don't know, 7, 8, right? $120 maybe. But I wasn't trying to be intimidating. I just wanted to be clear. I'm not trying to be intimidating what we stand for at AZ and Associates. I just want to be clear that you're not going to put your success on or failure of your business on me. It's all on you. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to lead you. I'm here to point you down the right direction and path. But it's on you if you decide to succumb to the shiny lights, to think that it's easier somewhere else. I set the tone very clearly, and players understand that, and they respect that. And the same thing will happen with your clients. I don't care if it's a family member. I don't care if it's your best friend. You set the tone of professionalism so they understand you're going to deliver. But I think sometimes we don't set these tones. We don't. Right? We're people, and if we don't get the type of referrals we'd like, the type of clients, we've all had our own family members go somewhere else. Start thinking about the tone that you set prior to. You can't be upset with them for going somewhere else. If all you've ever done was complain about what you do, if all you ever do is complain about your clients and they hear you, if you're stressed out to the core, if you're frustrated, if you're angry for working or overworking, how likely do you think they're going to refer you as an agent? Why would they want to take responsibility for the burdens you will bring to your clients? They don't trust you in that regard. They don't see you as an authority because your mood and your tone is always stressed out. You always have personal problems. You always have an excuse. You're always struggling. Why would they want to refer you? Oh, because they're family. You set the tone that you're unable to handle it. You set the tone that, well, anything can throw you off your game. So when they have somebody close to them, like a coworker or maybe their own, family or friends, they're probably not going to, your name is probably not going to pop into their mind. Because the last thing they want to do is stress you out. The last thing that they want is for you to drop the ball. Understand that setting the tone is in all aspects of your life, not just on the professional arena, not what you just show on social media. If your family can poke holes through what you're saying on social media, then you're not in alignment. You haven't set a clear tone and you're not following it. You're like my old boss. Do as I say, not as I do. And they can see it. So if you're struggling to get a referral-based business, there's a problem. They know you too well. They think you're weak. They think you can't handle it. Because of the way you respond to problems, to obstacles, you completely shut down, you get enraged. Why would they want that for their family and friends? You can't handle it. Because you haven't set a tone for yourself of how you operate on a daily basis. So, how do we set tones? How do we set tones so that we can start attracting the type of clientele base we want? How do we set tones that our own family and friends, the ones closest to us, start seeing a different perspective of who we are? Well, first, you got to be the example. You got to lead by example. Not the do as I say, not what I do type of philosophy. And it starts with how you handle pressures, how you handle commitments, how consistent are you? People will only refer people they can rely on. So if you're not getting those, or if your family always goes a different route when it comes to real estate or whatever business you're in, maybe you set the wrong tone. It's not their fault. Don't put it on them. But it starts, be the example, lead the example. It starts with self-care. If they're the same people that are watching you get drunk off your ass every weekend, you might not be the right person for their boss. You may not be the right person for their physician. Okay? Because you set the tone that you're responsible. So if you prioritize yourself, guess what they're thinking? If they put this much into themselves, I know for a fact they're going to over-deliver for me. So again, listen, I'm not saying six-pack abs. What I'm saying is maybe eating fast food every day and drinking every weekend is not the right routine. It doesn't set the right tone. Second thing, setting tone, is to be clear. Clear about what your expectations are. And it starts with you. Again, you can't make things an option. If you say you're going to do something, marketing is part of your responsibility. That has to happen 7 days a week, multiple times a day. That's setting the tone for yourself. Taking care of yourself is setting the tone. Delivering and doing what you say is setting the tone. And finally, as leaders of your household, as leader of your finances, of your business, establishing the mood is how you set the tone. Attitude is contagious. We all know that. Regardless of how you feel, you always have to be upbeat and optimistic. Because again, how you respond in your lowest of lows is how your family and friends see you. They don't want to cause you any more pain. They don't want to cause you any more stress or obstacles. So maybe this client is not the right fit for you because you won't be able to handle my friend's problems. They're problematic, so you can't handle it because I've seen you, how you handle stress. I've been witness to how you shut down when it gets overwhelming. I see how you treat your family. You start yelling at your kids and kicking the dog. I've seen that. I don't want to put any more on your family because I care about the kids. I care about the dog. I don't want to see him kicked. So guess what? I'm going to take this client and send him somewhere else. Or I'm just going to be a mute. I'm not going to say I know an agent or a business owner or anything. I just want my way out of it. Right? So establishing the mood. You're reliable. They can count on you. And it begins with the decisions you make today. Establishing that standard for yourself today. It is not an option to market. You must market. It is not an option to eat the right foods, quality foods, to work out. You just get it done. It's not an option to show appreciation towards those that you love. You call them or you text them. It's not an option to be broke because you set the tone, you set the standard of what you expect. And the more you do it, the more you'll attract. You'll attract those individuals, those clients that are ready to make decisions because you're ready to make a decision. You'll attract the clients that don't try to cancel the contract because they're afraid. Because you're not afraid. And you're not going to attract those clients that are trying to nickel and dime you because you treat other business owners with the respect they deserve and then don't try to nickel and dime them. Because you set a tone. And when you set the tone, you start growing appreciation for yourself and for others. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of Mindset Mastery. Set the tone, establish the mood, and execute. Guys, I will talk to you soon. Have a great day. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Badass Agents Podcast, brought to you by AZ & Associates and Do the Work Coaching and Consulting. You can watch this and other episodes by subscribing to our channel on YouTube or by visiting us directly at badassagents.com. And of course, you can listen to this episode and many others on your preferred podcast provider.